to our first lesson on genetics. This is an interesting topic in biology. It becomes so interesting because each and every year, paper 2, section A, question 5 comes from this particular topic. So if you want to get a distinction in biology, this is the topic that you need to fully understand. Also, paper 1, you find some questions, that is multiple choice question, 2 to 3 questions, which means we can approximate about 12 marks just on this particular topic for exams. So very important that you understand it. Now, we are going to move in steps. We are going to start with the basics, where we are going to look at the definition for genetics. Then we are going to look at the terms. So for this particular lessons, we are just going to look at the terms. Then we are going to pick it up in the next one, where we are going to look at the variation. So let us start. So what is genetics? So to define genetics, we are going to say is the study of inheritance. So genetics is simply the study of inheritance. Or in other words, you can define genetics as the study of heredity. So all that is, or even that is the definition for genetics. Now, let us look at the terms that we are going to come across as we go on in our discussion with the topic. So these terms are very important. Like I said, you can find questions in an exam where you are asked to define any of these terms. So exam questions start right from here. So the first term that we are going to define actually is the chromosome. What is a chromosome? Now, when you hear of the chromosome, you should think of something like this. So this is a homologous what? Chromosome, with these known as sister chromatid. With these known as sister chromatid. So this is the chromosome. Now, what is a chromosome? So a chromosome is a thread-like structure containing what? DNA that carries what? Gene. So it's simply the DNA that is wound around the proteins. Okay, so that is what we call the chromosome. So if you are to write, this is what you present. So a chromosome is simply a thread-like structure containing DNA that carries genes. Now, talking of genes, another term that you need to know is actually a gene. What is a gene, or what are genes? So when you talk of a gene, it's simply a section of the DNA that code for a specific characteristic, or this is just a section of the DNA that code for a particular characteristics. And when you talk of characteristic or trait, we can talk of height, eye color, everything that you see on yourself, or that it was because of the inherited gene. So that is what we call a gene. So that is how you define a gene. In the case you find a question, that is what you present. Then now we talk of alleles. Now this one is a struggle in pronunciation. So for me, I'm going to pronounce this one as alleles. Okay. So what are alleles? Or what is an allele? So for alleles, we are just looking at alternative form of a gene located on a specific position of a homologous or on a homologous chromosome. Okay, alternative form of a gene located on a specific position on a homologous chromosome. I love defining this one also as two forms of a gene. Okay, two forms of a gene, because each and every gene that you inherit, you have two forms. So that is what you call alleles, or an allele. The other one that we can look at actually is dominant allele. So these alleles that we are looking at, two forms of a gene that you inherit, one might be dominant, the other one might be recessive, or both dominant or both recessive. So in other words, we look at the dominant first. What is a dominant allele? So for a dominant allele is the one that masks the expression of recessive allele. Now let me break down this. So this one also, you can define it maybe the simple way. Also you can say is the one that is expressed in the genotype, or is the one that is expressed not in the genotype, please, in the phenotype. So dominant allele, we can say, is the allele that masks the expression of recessive allele, or we can say is the one that is expressed phenotypically. For example, if you are tall, then you inherit you have two allele for this gene. So let's say a capital letter T, we use dominant, capital letter T for dominant. So let's say for height, tall, capital letter, and you have also small letter, short. So what will be expressed here, despite you having the short one, and the tall one, what will be expressed is this dominant one. In other words, the one that is expressed in the phenotype. So which means overall you'll be a tall individual. So that is what we call a dominant allele. I guess you've gotten that. So very important that you understand this. Then recessive allele, we can say is the one that is expressed in homozygous state only. So expressed in, I forgot something here. So it's the one that is expressed in homozygous state. It means that where both alleles are recessive. For example, for height, shortness, we put small letter t, small letter t. We use small letters, not necessarily small letter t. This is for height. Tall, we use capital letter T in that case. Then small letter, we use it for short. Now, when you talk of recessive, we are looking at both alleles are recessive. Okay, so which means you have small letter, small letter. That is when it can be expressed. Otherwise, if you have a short one and the tall one will be phenotypically expressed. So very important that you understand a recessive allele. Alternatively, you can also say is the one that is shielded by the dominant allele. I guess you get that. All right, let us look at the other term, which is the genotype. The question that you ask yourself is, what is the genotype? So the genotype, we're looking at the internal makeup or the genetic makeup of an organism, what we cannot see, but inside. Okay, so the genetic makeup of an organism is what we call the genotype. So the genotype is the one that is expressed now phenotypically. So if someone is tall, I love using height because I think this one is very easy to understand. So when someone is tall, can have two alleles, both tall, or one tall, the other one short. This one overall will still be what? Tall. This one will still be what? Tall. So this is the genotype for height, tallness. Also, this one means tall. So the one that is expressed, the genotype is just a genetic makeup of an organism, and it's the one that is expressed phenotypically. What you see, that is what is inside. I don't know if you get that. Then let us look at the phenotype. Now, the phenotype is just a physical appearance of an organism. Okay, so is the physical appearance of an organism. That is what we call a phenotype. Then now let us look at homozygous. So for homozygous, homo means we can look at same. Now, when you talk of homozygous, we are looking at individuals that has two of the same alleles. Now, homozygous can be, let's say for height, capital letter T, it means someone is tall, or small letter t, it means someone is short. Okay, so in other words, having same alleles can be TT, can be short, TT, small letter t, capital letter T, It can be another characteristic, please. Let's say skin color for black, we can put BB, capital letter B, or another color. If this is a dominant, we can use small letter for another color. Or let me say brown is recessive. So that is about the homozygous. Then heterozygous, individual having two of different alleles. So having two of different alleles is what you call heterozygous. For example, I'd given, I think the height here you can see, there's capital letter T and small letter t. So long as they are not the same, it means that that is what we call heterozygous. I guess we've gotten it up to this point. Okay, so just these terms that we looked at, they are very important as you prepare for your exams. Let us look at variation, a bit of it. What is variation? So when you talk of variation, if you look around, individuals or people that are around, it might be in the family. Let's talk of the skin color, the eye color. We can talk of the height, we can talk of the body mass, we can talk of the body, the shoe size, and all that is different. So now, variation is just simply the differences among organisms of the same species. So when you are talking of humans, we have different human races. So that is what you call variation, okay? Now, when you talk of variation in humans, what are some of the characteristics that show variation in humans? So we can talk of shoe size, you can talk of body weight. You can talk of eye color. You can talk of fingerprint, and so many other characteristics. Then for plants, you can talk of flower color. You can talk of stem size. You can talk of seed shape. All these characteristics shows variation in what? In plants. So now, in our next one, we are going to look at actually variation, where we are going to look at this in depth. We look at also the questions. But for just your assignment, go and look at continuous and discontinuous variation. And among these characteristics that we've put out, which one do you think are discontinuous and which one are continuous? Then after this part, we should be able to look at other things under this topic. Otherwise, this is what I had for today. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson up to this point. So do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are watching this from YouTube. And also if you are watching from TikTok, Facebook, do not forget to get connected and also share with others. It helps, it might help someone. If you're interested to join us for online lessons, you can still contact the number 0976402563. For physical lessons, we are found in Kabwata, just near Kabwata Primary School. Otherwise, see you.